Hello everyone, welcome to the 20-Sided Podcast. My name is Brian Flaherty and I will be the Dungeon Master. This is a real play D&D podcast that is just a little bit different from your average real play show. Most shows follow the exploits of a group of players and characters over an entire campaign. But on this show, the campaign will span multiple mini-arcs, each of which has new players, new characters exploring different corners of the map and uncovering more about the evil forces at work in the world. First things first, let's meet our players. First off, we have Blythe Robertson.
Hi!
We've got Kevin Bauer.
Hello.
And we've got Jenny Gustafson.
Hello!
All right, now that we've met our players, let's get ready for a big ol' lore dump. Here we go. Cue the music. Welcome one and all to the Fractured Realms, and a world still reeling from the cataclysmic events known as Titanfall, which sundered the land, shattered the moon, and unleashed upon the formerly mundane world the arcane magic of the Weave. In the chaos of a world undone by catastrophe, three godlike titans waged celestial war on the broken continents, bending it to their will, destroying anything in their path. Until a band of mortals harnessed the magic of the Weave, fought and sealed away the titans, and ascended themselves to godhood, forming a new pantheon for an age of divinity and of peace. From the flooded tribes of Saruya, to the floating cities high above the shards of Azore, to the warrior nation hidden inside the barren lands of the relinquished territories, the citizens of this world bear the scars of a century's worth of collateral damage from a celestial conflict which used their world as its battleground, and from the rubble they formed an unprecedented peace. Our story begins long after the age of Titans in the year 1025, at the conclusion of a much smaller conflict. For centuries, the neighboring nations of Titanfall and Slakehaven on the southern continent of Saruya were the staunchest of allies. Known as the Twin Ports of Saruya, together they formed the most profitable center of shipping and trade on the continent. Then, 3 years ago, the countries suddenly exploded into an all-out war, openly defying the treaties formed by the Twilight Assembly, the alliance of nations that engineered the current era of peace. It is not known what started the conflict or who fired the first shot, but King Adonai Tor of Titanfall and King Bonathan McQuick of Slakehaven were consumed with a bloodlust that no attempts at negotiation could quell. The nations were excommunicated from the Twilight Assembly, their flags no longer recognized by the signatory nations, and they were left to fight their pointless war alone, in a quarantine of their own making. For nearly 3 years, the war continued, the citizens of the nations cut off from the world. Then, on the 1000th day of the conflict, Princess Annabelle Tor and Princess Camille McQuick, the only daughters of the two kings, led simultaneous coups against their fathers, killing them both, taking the thrones, and ending the war that very day. In the weeks since the twin acts of regicide, the Twilight Assembly has accepted provisional terms from Titanfall and Slakehaven to rejoin its ranks, thus ending their 3-year exile. Most citizens rejoice at the end of the bloodiest struggle in recent memory and their imminent return to the world stage, but some are still tainted by the war, lost to thoughts of vengeance and bloodshed. With their countries still teetering on the edge of disaster, the queens of the Twin Ports have decided, in a display of unity and trust, to travel together, largely unarmed, to present their flags to the Twilight Assembly aboard the grandest ship in their collective fleets, the R.M.S. Titanfall. The maiden voyage of the largest ship ever constructed, long delayed by the war, is accompanied with all the appropriate pomp and circumstance, as well as the pent-up jubilation of two war-torn nations eager to celebrate peace. The ship is packed with nobles, VIPs, and their retinues of hangers-on, as well as a collection of lower-class citizens lucky enough to win their place on this historic trip. The 3-day cruise is a well-earned epilogue to this battle-scarred chapter in the history of Saruya. But as the page turns, the blood seeps through, and we see that the stain of war might not so easily be wiped away. And now, we open. As we hear the of a midday, we wind our way through the streets of Titanfall's salt-stained district, hopscotching over canals and waterways as skimmer drivers on their little gondola type boats bellow out sea shanties as they taxi their fares around the city. We see buildings clad in blue and orange banners, and the citizens all in these very thin flowing robes, the hems of which are all bleached white from constant contact with the salt water around them. As we move through the twists and switchbacks, we arrive at possibly the most nondescript building in the entire city. So gray it almost appears in black and white. And in this unmarked building, up the back stairs to the 3rd floor and through the unadorned frosted glass is a room known only to those who have questions that need answering. Behind a large wooden desk sits a man looking out over the city whose secrets he knows all too well. Kevin, you want to go ahead and describe your character?
Absolutely. My character's name is Cleave Beefchief. Cleave, of course, is short for Cleave and Twain. He comes from a family of barbarians, but he himself has taken up the practice of private investigator around these parts.
Hell yeah. And what do you physically look like? What's your kind of outfit? What's your vibe?
I really, if you've seen the movie The Nice Guys, picture Ryan Gosling. Attitude-wise, we're talking a temperament similar to, I'm going to say, mid-movie Serpico, where, he's had a little bit too much exposure. He came into this world bright-eyed, but he's had a little bit too much exposure to how shitty the underworld of a city can be.
As Cleave is looking out over the city, kind of watching the various people go by about their days, knowing all too well where some of them likely are heading to and what secrets they might hold, you hear on your frosted glass door.
How much you got?
You hear no answer. You just hear again.
Yeah, I heard you knock. I mean, how much money do you have?
You hear for a moment a cough, like someone clearing their throat, but you can't quite place exactly what the sound is. It's difficult to explain. You recognize it as a cough, a human or elven or dwarven cough, but it seems to change in pitch 5-6 times as the cough happens. You can't quite place what this is. You see the door, the handle just kind of jiggle. Do you leave it unlocked or is it locked?
Oh, it's locked.
You see the handle jiggle. You hear, I believe I have plenty for you. And as you hear this voice, you don't hear it as you might expect. You don't hear a single resonance of the voice. You hear almost with every syllable, the voice changes rapidly. So you hear, I think I might have enough for you. This strange, weird, frequency hopping voice.
I reach back and I put my hand on my sidearm, but I walk forward and try to act nonchalant when opening the door.
You open the door as nonchalant as you can. Before you see, dressed in a very standard Titanfallian robe, gown type thing. It's this very bright, brilliant colors, kind of flowing, very light for the Mediterranean climate. A figure that appears roughly human-sized, humanoid. What immediately throws you off is their face, which is not one face or half a face or 3. It is a constantly shifting menagerie of different faces. Kind of like the scene in Scanner Darkly, the weird mask they wear. Or kind of think Rorschach mask, but with real faces, just cycling through.
Jesus Christ, another one of these. All right, take a chair.
Thank you very much. And again, you hear this crazy frequency hopping voice. The figure walks very quickly and briskly to a chair and kind of just sits down in front of you, lightly crosses their arms, and just kind of waits to be addressed.
Just so you know, half the time when people show up in one of these, they're trying to fuck me up. So if you're going to do that, let's just get it over with now.
He kind of like puts his hands up. Or, I mean, you assume you see kind of like vaguely hairy arms or like a bit of traces of hair on the arms, but the faces that flick through are male, female, child, old, a whole menagerie of different people.
All of the categories.
All the categories of people. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out what appears to be a small envelope, as well as he kind of like pulls out two large like rolls of paper or like some kind of parchment. He first flops an envelope in front of you. He goes, I think this should cover your fee. You look inside and there are full-on 50 platinum pieces, like 500 gold pieces. He goes, there will be another 2,000 waiting for you upon delivery. Is that sufficient?
Can I roll an investigation check to see if this is a real piece of platinum?
Yeah, totally. For those of you who are new to Dungeons & Dragons, let me explain a little bit about how this game works. Blythe, Kevin, and Jenny are free to have their characters do anything they like within the world. However, when they want to attempt something that involves some kind of skill or some amount of luck, I will have them make an appropriate ability check. This is where we get to roll some dice. The player will roll a 20-sided die, or a d20 for short, and add an appropriate ability modifier based on the character they've created. For example, if they are a sneaky rogue, they might get a +5 to their stealth checks, whereas a knight in loud, bulky armor might have a -2 stealth modifier. They then compare whatever number they get to an arbitrary number I assign that represents the difficulty of the action they are trying to accomplish. This is called the difficulty class, or DC for short. For instance, finding a troll in a crowd might only require a DC 5 investigation check. But finding a literal needle in a haystack might require a DC of 25. If they roll higher than the DC I have set, they succeed. And if they roll lower, they fail, sometimes with hilarious consequences.
Can I roll an investigation check to see if this is a real piece of platinum?
Yeah, totally.
I got a 4.
Though you are like fairly successful, you don't come across platinum that often. I mean, it's like you get dealt in like $20 bills, $50 bills. This is a guy walking in with a $1,000 bill. You're like, I'm pretty sure this is real, but I don't really have a frame of reference. But you get from his general demeanor, this doesn't appear to be a guy that's like trying to screw you over, or at least it doesn't have that kind of like attitude of someone who seems to be pulling a con. Though that might be what a con man would want you to think.
I look down at the bag and I go, all right. Looks like a bag of real platinum to me.
I assure you it is. I have no desire to waste your time or mine. I have a question what needs answering, and I'm told you're the man to do that.
All right, shoot.
He pulls out the two like large rolls of parchment, flattens them out on the table in front of you, kind of like even like pushing some of your stuff to the side. And you see two massive blueprints, one right stacked on top of the other. Blueprints for what you immediately realize is the R.M.S. Titanfall, the largest and grandest ship ever designed by the Cerulean fleets, set to sail later today. He shows you the two blueprints. Go ahead and roll me another investigation check. Or perception if you'd like.
I did investigation. This one's an 18.
18. You notice as he kind of like spreads the two across, he kind of like leans back and kind of lets you see him kind of like examining you to see what you'll do in this moment. He hasn't given you like any information on what these two things are. He kind of like wants to see what you're going to do with it. As he spreads these two blueprints, you see they appear to be identical at first glance. You look at them, there's like no changes between the two, or like you maybe see some like small like ornamental changes, but like there's nothing big here. And then you notice one small figure has been changed. The old papers show a height that is called the draft height. This is the height from the bottom of the keel to the waterline. The old papers show it as 34 feet 7 inches. As you look at the new paper, you see 30 feet 2 inches. He kind of like catches your eyes as your eyes kind of alight on this, and he goes, "You do seem to be as good as they say. That pleases me. I need an answer. Why was this changed?
Look, could be a lot of things. Maybe they just did the math wrong. You sure you want to dump this much money into finding out?
I'm quite willing to dump more. He pulls out from his pocket a ticket for the later sailing of the R.M.S. Titanfall. A second-class ticket, so it's not like, the best in the world, but it is still the highest prize ticket in the city at this time, really in the country, and slides it across your desk and goes, I don't know what is happening with these changes. Maybe they're nothing. I certainly hope they're nothing, but I'd like you to find out why. I know the owner of the boat as well as the architect are supposed to be on this maiden voyage. If you could maybe bring this to their attention, see what you can see, I'd be happy for any information. And if it is indeed nothing, you'll still get paid your 2,000 gold pieces by putting my mind at ease. Does that sound agreeable? And again, you see the faces.
Sounds easy enough. How do I get a hold of you afterwards?
You won't need to get a hold of me. I will find you once you get to the Twilight Assembly. And you know that the maiden voyage of the R.M.S. Titanfall has but 2 stops. It starts in the Twin Ports and it goes directly to the Twilight Assembly and back. I'll be waiting for you when the boat docks. I hope you'll have my information by then. I'll believe I will need it.
All right. But before you go, I just want to reiterate. It could be a lot of things. And no matter what it is, I'm going to want that 2,000.
I have heard of you by your reputation that you find things out no matter what it takes. I respect that, I do. I understand that you may not be able to take me on my reputation given my current form. And he kind of gestures to his, various bits of disguisery. I hope you'll take a little leap of faith in me. If nothing else, you get a great trip aboard a ship, you get 500 gold pieces in your pocket, and you get to talk and hobnob with a few fun people. Could be worse.
Could be.
He reaches out his hand to shake yours.
I shake his hand as well.
Thank you, Cleave. I will be seeing you on the other side. And
could be cows.
What was that?
Could be cows.
I certainly hope it's cows. Cows sounds, that'd be well worth 2,000 gold pieces. And he
just saying, big boat. Could use a lot more cows.
And as this cow talk hits, the door slams behind you. You look down and have these 2 pristine blueprints in front of you, as well as 500 gold pieces for your trouble and a ticket aboard the R.M.S. Titanfall, sailing in but 4 hours.
All right, 4 hours to go. I'm going to need to grab some cigarettes.
As you make your way down your monochrome building into the colorful city of Titanfall, we move now as far away physically and socioeconomically as we can within this city to a district where salt stains on clothes are never seen thanks to mildly enchanted, high-priced fabrics. Here we see a small newsstand hawking copies of fancy literary magazines, The New Yorker, The Three Dragon Review. You hear a little halfling run up and goes, "Hey, you got Shalm's magazine?" "But of course!" And as we pull back, we see that we are actually directly in front of the glass-walled offices of Shalm's literary magazine. As we begin to wind through the halls, we see the iconic cartoon covers of the magazine dotting the walls as we pass cubicle and office and cubicle and office and cubicle and office. And we see a thick wooden door with framed in gold engraved lettering, editor-in-chief. The wooden door opens up and a voice bellows out, "Maeve, get in here!" Blythe, will you please describe your character?
Yes, so I am an elf named Meadhbh Snailbaby. Maeve spelled, of course, the only way it should be, Meadhbh. And I am, much like Lady Gaga, 5'2", and also like Lady Gaga, I have blue hair.
You hear the voice of your boss, editor-in-chief Babbitt calling you into his office. You have heard this particular tone before. It's not quite mad, but you know that you should double time it into the office.
So I run in. Okay, hi, David. What do you need?
Okay, listen, Maeve. I have an assignment for you. I know you don't love assignments, but this is what I need for you. I need it. Listen, we all love your column. I love your column. But it's not really what's drawing the readers in to Shawms. They want glitz, they want glam, they want Shawms. And your stuff is very well written. I love it. But I need... Listen, I gotta be honest. I've got an opportunity here. I need my best writer on it. Okay? We all know that's you. What I have, and you see him, he's kind of like almost nervous to tell you this time. He goes, Shawms was the only one issued press credentials, not the New Yorker, not the Floating Gazetta. We're the only ones given press credentials for the inaugural trip of the R.M.S. Titanfall.
And you want me to write about it?
Yes.
But David, I'm working on a long lead piece about goats right now. I don't want to leave the goats.
So, I thought you would say that. I need a home run here. This is what I need. Those pricks at the New Yorker have been beating us left and right every fucking month. Not this time. This is how we get ahead. This is how we get out from under this hole that we're in. I need a home run. I want quotes from the queens, the ship's owner, the architect. We had two coups. We had two coups. You gotta get some good quotes from that. Clearly, you must want this story. This is a great. Please take the story.
Can I give it a little bit of a, man on the street angle as well? Can I talk to some people?
Okay, let me tell you what I don't need. I don't need an upstairs downstairs piece about the ship's crew and how they live, okay? I don't need fun stories about the bartender with the missing leg and the heart of gold. I need 10,000 words that taste like champagne and smell like royal farts, okay? That's what I need from you. Can you... And listen, okay, you need a carrot. I've given you a stick, you need a carrot. Okay, fine. Do this, nail it, and I mean, nail it. You say you want to travel outside of Saruya? Expand your column, tell bigger and more obscure stories with a lighter, editorial hand, maybe. Nail this. I will give you 3 things. A 2-year contract. Your column will go from monthly to weekly.
With a pay raise?
No pay raise, but you will have an expense budget to travel anywhere short of the fucking Shattered Moons. Does that sound fair?
Okay. I'm gonna have one quote from a crew member or something like that.
You see him already jostling down things. He's writing a note. He goes, "Fuck that guy at the New Yorker. I'm gonna fuck him up." He immediately slides over a first-class ticket to the inaugural sailing of the R.M.S. Titanfall. He goes, "Maeve, we're going to do great things together, you and me. This is the start of something big. I'm telling you, it's going to be big."
I don't share your enthusiasm for all the glitz and glam, but I'm going to turn in the piece of the fucking century.
Oh, Maeve, thank you. If you put in half of the literary talent you put into that 20,000 word piece about the pig with 2 butts, I don't know how you got 20,000 words out of that, but you fucking did. Don't get me wrong, they were brilliant. It was nominated, but man, no one read them all. No one read all the words.
The pig with 2 butts is a metaphor for our times.
No, I don't care. I can't dedicate 20 pages and 2 centerfold spreads to a pig with 2 butts. I can't do it.
Well, you needed one centerfold for each of the butts.
I understood the rationale then, and I understand it now. I fell into the trap, the logic trap of that, and I won't have it happen again. I need the queens. I want you to get them to talk about, what it was like killing their fathers, what it's like being queens now. There's there's so much there. Just give it to me.
All right. You got it. But I'm gonna go write the craziest stories when this is all said and done.
That's, I'll make my peace with that when we get to it. I'm really thinking in the moment, not gonna lie. You make your way out of Meadhbh Snailbaby's office, and you begin to pack as quickly as you can for the trip, knowing you only have maybe like 3 hours to get over there. Finally, we arrive at the north side of town to the busy docks of the Twin Ports. We see gruff sailors and seamen, all of them working very cheerily. We hear vendors selling meats and nuts and street foods, a cacophony of excitement and anticipation, but all of that is drowned out by two things. The massive of the behemoth monstrosity of a ship dominating the landscape. In front of you is the R.M.S. Titanfall. On the docks, we see a blur of colors as people bustle to and from, leading supplies, gears, animals even, and passengers onto this magnificent ship. But through that blur of motion, people going to and from, we see one figure standing still, just kind of gazing up at the massive ship, reminded perhaps of the faraway mountains where she was raised. Jenny, will you please describe your character?
Yes, my character's name is Karis Thornbrow. She's presumed to be some kind of bastard found by a clan of dwarves at the base of the shards. She does have dwarfish features, but stands a little bit taller than usual, 5'3", I'd say. And she grew up in this great dwarven clan known for their swordsmithing and quickly started scamming her village. And once she was ejected, kind of began a career as a bit of a thief and a sneak, and has kind of just been looking for her origins on her way.
Hell yeah. Karis, you are standing on these docks. As people are moving very quickly to and from, you get the sense that these docks and this port are more alight than they have been in quite some time. You only arrived to Slakehaven maybe 2-3 days ago. You've kind of like been getting your bearings. Go ahead and roll me a perception check.
Sure will. 7.
With the 7, you look around and you are just overwhelmed by the amount of people. Like, this is a packed dock. Like, people are really like pushing and shoving. You're kind of getting jostled around a little bit. You're a bit stockier, so you're kind of like pushing them back a little bit. You see like this big, beefy fucking dock where he's carrying 2 barrels of, barrels. And he kind of like smashes into you. You kind of like shoulder check him back. Oh! And he kind of just like looks down and gives you like a little respectful look. And then continues on. As you are just kind of like taking this in, this is like the biggest to-do of the day. You figure you might as well check it out. You hear off in the distance a kind of like hush go over the crowd. And then as you begin to see royal banners, or like very colorful banners, being like a procession of these things going through the streets. Like everyone's kind of like parting out of the way to get to the gangplank. And you begin to see a pair of figures walking by. The first person you see is this kind of like 50s-year-old guy. He's got, full armor on, like fully dressed for a battle. You see the purple sigil on his chest of Twyla the Patient, his patron god. You see he's got this like, gruff, grizzled, like gray beard. He's probably like in his early 50s, but he clearly, like, time has not been kind to him. This guy's been stressed out for a long time. And you see him, he's kind of like walking, and as you kind of watch him, he's like fingering what appear to be like a rosary or like prayer beads. And you see him just kind of like muttering to himself. But you also see that he is like eagle-eyed watching the crowd. As he kind of moves forward, you hear through the crowd, "Come on, Your Majesty," as a very small, very like petite human woman walks behind him. She's dressed kind of in a formal but casual regal wear. She's not wearing like, furs and a crown or something. Sorry, she does have on a crown, but she's not wearing like the, crazy ornamental type things.
Not that crazy fur crown.
Not that crazy. You don't like the like red and white fur that always seems to be on like royalty where they have like a scepter. She's not doing that. But you just get from the air around her that this is royalty. She does seem to be wearing a like small crown that doesn't quite fit, both literally and metaphorically. Like she seems to be kind of Yeah, yeah.
Sick burn.
Got her. She seems to be kind of almost shying away from the attention that's on her. Go ahead and roll an insight check for me.
Oh my gosh. Gotta know more about this small crown chick. 4.
She's just a small crown girl.
Small crown world. You're the 4. You are just totally taken over by the sights. Can you also roll me a investigation check for me? Investigation or perception, whichever you'd like.
Okay. Ooh, we'll do perception 21.
You're kind of like trying to get a read on this girl. Like, you're even like listening to what people are murmuring, but like you can't really make it out. It's loud here. You keep hearing this is the loudest thing you've heard in weeks. And you watch her go and you kind of just like watch this person. You get a vague sense that she seems a little small. You see this, big guy. Seems to be maybe a bodyguard or right-hand type person. You're not really sure. You hear some murmurings. You hear the word like queen getting tossed around, princess getting tossed around. But that's not what catches your eye. What catches your eye is the banners themselves. You had seen them kind of like flicking in the wind and you hadn't really like caught their design. You'd just seen kind of like red and gold and stuff. All of a sudden the wind kind of alights and you see it go flat. And you immediately recognize this. You reach into your pocket where you always carry it.
My amulet.
Pull out the amulet that was left with you as a child and you kind of like hold it up to the light. It's not a perfect match, but you see in front of you the sigil and the crest of the McQuick family of Slakehaven. And you see it's kind of this line flat across with like sun. So like it's like a line with like half the sun coming out like a dawn and like squiggly lines out of it. Yours appears to be very similar. It has like a slightly lower sun. You see some like kind of like some vague stuff underneath. And your amulet's been kind of worn away a little bit by time. But it's close enough that you think this might warrant further investigation.
Yeah, this is significant.
You see the two of them get on the ship and the crowd around you kind of like returns to normal.
Wow. I'm definitely stunned in place right now and trying to get my bearings. Without even thinking, I dive below the crowd forming and beeline it towards the ship.
Hell yeah. Go ahead and roll a stealth check. Are you trying to get on like the gangplank as people are coming up?
Yeah, my knee-jerk reaction here, as someone who knows how to rob, how to steal, is you gotta get in while the getting's good. So I'm trying to get on that boat before it closes.
So just, you see kind of like two areas where things like there's people getting loaded on, this kind of like VIP line that like is kind of, red velvet ropes or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there is more of a like workers loading like gear and stuff on. And that's kind of like around the other side. Which way are you going? Are you going for like people getting in or are you trying to get in through like where the gear is getting loaded on? Like supplies.
I'm definitely drawn towards the opening for all of the people and all the pomp and circumstance. But then I kind of gather myself and bring myself back to life and realize my best option is probably going to be among the gear and the kind of dregs of the ship. So I just take a sharp right and go down there.
I'm going to have you roll 2 checks. First, roll Actually, I'll say with a 21 perception, you already kind of noticed this. You see around both entrances, around like where the people are winding in, and even around where gear is loading in, a fairly heavy armed guard presence. You're not entirely sure how much pull they have. You're kind of like new to this area. Yeah. But there are definitely some guys who all they appear to be doing is standing there and scanning the crowd. If you want to, you can go ahead and make a stealth check.
Yeah,
try to like move past them.
Definitely. And if I can't, let's go for this first. Let's see what happens. All right, 20.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Baby, 50.
You begin to move through towards like the gear storage loading area.
Yeah.
You're kind of like walking line in line with the guy with 2 barrels on his shoulder who like jostled you before. You see he's picked up somehow a 3rd barrel and it's like on top of his head. He's been doing this. He's like 60, but he's, fucking ripped. He knows all the moves.
Yep.
He could stack 3 more barrels on top of it if he wanted to. He begins to move, and you kind of just like slowly and casually just walk in his shadow, keeping him between you and like the guard that seems to be most alert. Very quickly, you find yourself inside like the steerage area of the ship. What do you do in this moment?
Yes. As we walk a few feet forward, the guy with the barrels, I give him a slap on the back. And I'm like, man, you should have told me you were coming this way. And so I try to establish some sort of relationship with him.
You see him, he kind of like looks down, the barrel on his head like almost falls, and he kind of like catches it with the other 2 barrels. He goes, "You work here? I ain't seen you around before."
Yeah, I work here. I'm Maury's kid. I'm Maury's kid. You know Maury? Maury with the gears? Maury with the gears.
Yeah, but I thought his kid was like 4.
Oh my god, that was 15 years ago! I'm 19!
Go ahead and roll me a deception check.
Oh, 6.
He puts down the barrels, looks up and goes, "Hey, Maury! Is it your kid here?" You see this small halfling guy with this crazy fucking scraggly beard looks up from like, he has his head like fully inside of some kind of like mechanism. He pulls out, he's like covered in grease, he goes, "What?" Pulls out some spectacles, puts them on, and goes, "Who's that?" "Hey, she says she's your kid." Now my kid's 4! What? Okay, so, listen, bro, you're gonna have to leave. He goes to, like, grab you and pull you out. What are you gonna
do? Can I dash?
You can run?
Yeah, I would like to try and run as fast as possible.
Sure. I assume you're running deeper into the ship?
Yeah, I'm running deeper in the ship. I want to push people behind me, so he kind of has to Donkey Kong them forward with his barrels as they fall.
You see Barrel Man immediately lunges for you. I want you to make a dexterity saving throw. This is going to be a contested throw against his strength.
Okay.
I'll say he has a +3 to strength. It was 11, so 14. Gotta be a 14.
19 dexterity.
He, like a fucking cartoon, goes to, like, claw you, like, you know, pincer motion horizontally. You duck out like fucking Goofy and begin to run deeper into the ship. As you dart, you are fast. You hear him behind you, he goes, "Hey, someone's gotten on the ship. We got a stowaway." You hear people around you all kind of, like, alighting as well. Like, the whole crew kind of echoes it. We go, "Stowaway! Stowaway! Stowaway!" As you are running through. You are running through a ship. You don't know which way is to safety or whatnot, but you know that a lot of people are looking at you run. What does Karis do?
I turn around and start running. "I'm starting a search party. Anyone who wants to catch the stowaway, follow me this way." And I start like slowly leading a couple of like young idiots with me.
I'll say roll an insight check to see if you can like find a guy that's easy to convince.
Okay.
And this will determine how hard your persuasion check is.
What was I checking? My insight? 19, baby.
You see this, like, couldn't be older than 15. This is, like, the youngest person you can see around here. He's, like, trying to grow a mustache, but it's not... Man, it's not working. But he, like, even as you're, like, running past, he's kind of, like, doing that, like, finger mustache move that guys without mustache do. You see him, and you say this, go ahead and roll a deception check for this guy. I'm going to say because you found, like, the youngest, easily to convince guy, roll it as a straight check and not with disadvantage.
Okay. Ooh, 15.
Yeah, I think 15 will do it.
You think so?
Run up to this guy. You see this kid kind of, like, playing with his mustache, like, looking at himself in, like, the reflection of, like, a shiny piece of metal. He goes, what are we doing? I was just supposed to count the boxes. There's 87 over here. What are we doing now? We have to search? What are we searching for?
Yeah, and I look at him and I start shaking him. I'm like, kid, it's your time to shine.
Oh my god. Yeah, okay, just tell me what to do. Just tell, what do I gotta do?
We have a level 1 domestic threat on our hands. Oh my god,
a
stowaway on the
level
boat.
Level 1?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a stowaway. Oh, that's different.
What did you think
it was? Is it level 1 or is it a stowaway?
It's a stowaway, but what did you think it was?
Level 1 is there's bombs on the ship. Bombs on the ship all over.
Buddy, stop talking! Your destiny is calling!
Sorry, stowaway! You see this guy just start running fully in circles. Guys, there's a stowaway! We know! So, stowaway! Go ahead, in the chaos you have managed to create, go ahead and roll a stealth check to see if you can get out of here unnoticed. I'm going to say DC is 15.
What was it? Stealth? Mm-hmm. 21.
You fade back quietly into the shadows. You find a spot behind like some boxes that kind of like, you find like a little nook for yourself that's kind of like hidden away. You crouch down and just kind of like wait for all this to blow over. You reach into one of the boxes and there's like full on cupcakes inside. You just like munch on a cupcake or something. As you kind of sit and wait out this thing, we hear again, as two pairs of boots, or boots, shoes, whatever you guys are wearing, begin to arrive at the docks. One beginning to line up for the second class line, and one in the much more prim and proper white tie first class line. Cleave and Meadhbh, you guys both arrive, kind of just a bit staggered from each other. Cleave, in front of you, you haven't really maybe been down here to like see this ship as it in its like final state. You'd seen it getting built over the past couple months. And Meadhbh, you might not have come down here. Like, this isn't really your scene. Mm-hmm. You guys see this ship, a cool 900 feet long, and even from where you're standing on the docks, a good 10 stories high. This thing towers over almost all of the buildings in the city. You see, 3 giant smokestacks that from your perspective, you can only see like the very tips of, looking like giant fucking cigarettes sticking out of this thing with, great billowing clouds of smoke coming out of it, this thick, viscous white, just kind of like drifting over the city like artificial clouds. Meadhbh, you see there's clearly like 2 lines, very much Disneyland vibes. You see like the first class line, everyone's like buttoned up. You see like black tie is underdressed. Everyone's wearing their, they're literally the best thing they own just to be seen in this line. And then like not 10 feet away, there's the second class line with like, moms holding their kids. There's like a dad with one of those, hats that you buy at a gift shop, and he's got, suntan lotion under his eyes. Kids, get up here! Come on! No, don't go over there! No, okay. Oh, here we go. Brandon! And you just see all the people in first class just kind of, giving their little 2 cents. Oh, well, I think this is going to be a marvelous trip. I've never seen a ship quite like this. What do you guys do?
As I get up to the ticket taker, Cleave is just thinking, all right, hasn't worked before, but let's give it a shot, see if we can make this one easy. Hey, pal.
You see in front of you is this kind of like beleaguered looking half-elven woman. Clearly like she started this day happy, and the passengers have not been kind to her. You see she's just like very tired. Goes, yes, how can I make your trip magical?
Question for you. How come this boat's heavy?
I'm sorry?
You got any idea why the boat's heavy?
She like looks at you for a good 30 seconds. Like she's just trying to like, you see her mind processing this. Like she's been asked some crazy things today, but this one just fully breaks her. The metal? Maybe? Or the people?
All right, Cleave, guess you got to do this one the hard way.
She's just like making these large gestures towards the boat.
Yep, I'm going to have to do this the hard way.
Do you have a ticket?
Oh yeah, just 1 second. Now I'm like rummaging through my pockets and just pulling out like wrappers from stuff and receipts.
She has this like desk in front of her, just like piling these things on her little desk, and she's just... Oh,
absolutely. Okay. There's assorted crumbs. There's like a fourth of a donut.
Rachel, you have a degree. This. Okay.
All right, here you go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, wonderful. Second class. Go right in, straight up. To the left, there'll be a meeting in about 2 hours once we set sail, just to kind of, everyone to say hi. Everyone's invited on the Phoebe promenade.
All right, and just one last question for you. How do I get to the captain of this thing?
Well, the captain generally dines with the first class passengers. You might be able to find him walking around, but I believe it's only the first class passengers that can request to sit at the captain's table.
All right, duly noted.
Perhaps if you made friends with one of our other passengers, they could help you.
I look over at the first class line, and I look back at her, and I go, "No, I'm all right. Thank you very much, Rachel."
Okay, just, what do I know? Okay, goodbye. Next, please. You see a woman with twins in her arms just fully hands Rachel the twins. She goes, hang on here, I gotta get my tickets. Rachel just You walk inside through a second class entrance. You kind of walk up the gangplank, and even like you are in the quote unquote steerage second class. This is still a gorgeous interior. While not like resplendent in maybe like marble and gold like you might have been anticipating, there are like brilliant pewters and coppers. There are a number of very colorful paintings and tapestries. The entire floor is this like beautiful linoleum. You begin to make your way in, and you look at your ticket. You're in room 112, and you begin to like find your way to the room. Maeve, what do you do?
Well, I'm writing in my little notebook all my observations. So, woman with twin under each arm. This boat seems bad for the environment. And then I go up to the ticket taker and I give them my ticket. And
You don't really realize it. Actually, even roll a perception check for me.
Okay.
See, actually, investigation if you want, because you're actively looking around for like things to write about.
Yeah. 18.
You're looking around. You're like spotting all of these like fun little bits you can throw in your article. All these little bits of color. You, for the briefest of moments, see Cleave in his, and you immediately clock him as like kind of a straight-laced type guy walking past Rachel, and you see, Rachel kind of looking a bit beleaguered as she gets handed two twins. You land in front of you to a half-elven woman, Rachel's perfect doppelganger. Hello, I am Raquel. How can I assist you today? I assume you have a ticket for first class.
I do. Here you go. Listen, I hate to have to ask you this, but I'm writing an article. Do you know how do I get in touch with the captain of this thing?
Yes, of course. The captain dines with first class passengers every evening. This is a three-day cruise. You can find him then. You can also make a request as a first class passenger. You're more than welcome. I know he will be fairly busy, running the ship and stuff, but he plans to make time for every single passenger who would like to meet him for a photograph or a bit of an article. I'm sure I'll tell you to me, he loves giving quotes. He's a gossip hound, that guy. But he's a good captain.
All right. And then I have one more question. It's not related to the article.
Of course.
Do you think we'll see any dolphins during the cruise?
Well, there's a couple ways you could see dolphins. Of course, we're going to be kind of skirting around the static to get to the Twilight Assembly. And you know this from your world history. In the sea, which is surrounded by the three major continents of this world, the liminal sea, there are two things. One is the Twilight Assembly on the island of Phoebe, which is literally a piece of the fractured moon that fell from the sky and destroyed the continents, like separated them. And there is also a kind of a Bermuda Triangle space known colloquially as the Static, which is where the Titans originally came from. It's kind of like more or less a no-go zone. She describes kind of your route. We'll be going around the Static, and in the western waters there is a chance to see dolphins. But if you prefer, we do have a large aquarium, which I believe does house a few dolphins. They do some tricks and stuff.
There are captive dolphins on the boat?
Oh, I know what you're thinking. But the aquarium is literally inlaid throughout the entire ship. So they have the entire boat to swim in.
But they can't go outside the boat. They're boat dolphins.
She looks and goes, yeah, but it's a really big boat.
This is going in the article. I gotta go.
You see her momentarily, like, she had this very chipper demeanor. Momentarily it breaks because she's like, oh my God, am I going to be in the article? I don't want to be in the article. What did I just do? And then another passenger in this like full-on white tie and tails and like 2 monocles. And he's all physically holding him with the
2 monocles.
Comes up and presents his ticket. She goes, sir, wonderful. And you make your way on to the first class passage. You have to kind of like wind up some switchbacks of stairs to go up as you get to not the topmost cabin. That is kind of like a more decorative, like promenade type thing, but the second highest deck. And as you enter, they have clearly designed this boat to be entered from one point, and that is this point. You even see there's a person at the top who is like having people wait and then ushering them through so that everyone can experience it like one at a time. You see this, guy in these, white gloves and kind of like hold on. You see he's got like a little like earpiece in his ear. He goes, oh, yes, okay, cool. He ushers you in and like the doors literally part in front of you as these 2 like, butlers open the doors. And you are standing at the top of a grand staircase. Looking down, there's this, gorgeous double curved staircase that kind of like curves out to either side and spindles around, overlooking this massive ballroom. You see gold, you see champagne, you see crystals, you see marble, you see, for some reason, linoleum again. But all of that almost like passes before your eyes and like goes to the back of your mind. Maeve's not necessarily impressed by this type of thing. But looking out over this crowd, you see in this room likely the wealthiest and most important people in the world. And I don't know, how does Maeve feel in this moment, knowing that likely she is a bit of a fish out of water?
I think I see these people and I just feel a little bit, my heart goes out to them because I just think they're all a little bit misguided. I feel a little bit better than them because I think they value the wrong things. Like, why did you spend so much money and carbon building this big boat? These guys are just, barking up the wrong tree, I think.
You begin to, you see the woman in front of you who's wearing this, insane trailed gown monstrosity, is like taking her time going down the staircase, and you just kind of like sidle up along past, like holding the banister, just kind of like walking down. There's a band not too far away. It's like a 20-piece, brass strings. There's a drummer that's this like crazy green goblin that seems to be like busting out of his tux. And you see the band is like playing in time with whoever's walking down, and you see them all of a sudden, like the conductor kind of like, and the music kind of like increases and to like match your pace, but then goes back down to match her pace. And you see this woman who's like clearly been waiting for like months to make this walk. All of a sudden kind of like stumbles and trips a little bit. You see the entire deck is just watching this processional happen as you just kind of like walk on down into the main promenade. You guys all begin to make yourselves comfortable. Maeve, you find your room. It is a overly lush suite, as all first class accommodations are. There's like 4 rooms. There were already 3 bathtubs filled with water, and like it seemed to be like magically, it was like the perfect temperature on all of them filled with bubbles, and you're just thinking waste. But you gotta admit, everything is the most comfortable thing you've ever sat on. Like, you sit on the bed and it's a pillow. It's a cloud. You sit on the marble and somehow it's softer. You don't know how, but it's fantastic. Cleave, you find your way to your room. Luckily, you were above the waterline in the second class rooms. There are some that are like below the waterline and just get like kind of a little porthole view of the water. You're like just above it, so you can kind of like see the nice seascapes. And from both of your windows, you can see that the last of the passengers seem to be arriving. Karis, as you are hiding in your little hideaway, you eventually hear the cries of these various people, stow away, begin to fade as people just kind of, you hear like a foreman kind of come and go, all right, everybody, back to work. And things just kind of go about normal. From just outside the boat, you hear again that very familiar hush kind of fall and that chatter begin. And Cleave and Meadhbh, from your windows, you kind of just happen to glance out almost at the same time and see the banners of Titanfall, these kind of like blue and yellow banners being walked forward up the gangplank into the first class area. Both Meadhbh and Cleave, you would know quite well that this is Princess Annabelle Tor, now Queen Annabelle Tor, heir and current queen after killing her father. And in front of her, and you see her, she is clearly she's probably about like 18, definitely a girl with a bit of an attitude. She's going through like a phase of something. She's got like kind of spiked hair with like a bit of purple in it, but then also like a bit of like, not quite sure what she was going for, but she tried a couple different things. They're all kind of working a bit. She's got the crown kind of like askew on her head. She's very much given off a vibe of like, fuck it, I don't care. You can even see it in the way she walks. She kind of like walks with her arms back. And trailing behind her, decked out in full chainmail, with the symbol of the god Aeon, big yellow sun on her chest, is likely the fiercest warrior in Titanfall and the current head of the Queen's Guard, Sir Tiffany Fex. And you see this woman, like, she's got her hair kind of done up in this like very aggressively tight bun, helmet kind of like cocked under her arm, big fucking sword over top of her shoulders that she's literally like just balancing on her shoulders, walking forward. And you see everyone's giving both Annabelle, but really Tiffany, a wide berth as they begin to walk through. Meadhbh, even from your quarters, you hear them announced as they walk down the grand staircase. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Queen Annabelle Tor, accompanied by Sir Tiffany Fex. You guys, as you guys are kind of like settling in, one of you in lush accommodations, one of you in okay accommodations, and one of you sitting on the floor behind some boxes, you begin to hear chatter as excitement begins to build. Karis, you hear as the massive doors to this loading area slam shut. Cleave and Meadhbh, you both hear the chatter of, I think we're leaving soon. Not 10 minutes later, you hear one more time. You hear the crowd that has gathered on the docks is all kind of cheering and clapping, and you all of a sudden feel that small jostle of a ship overcoming static friction and beginning its way into the liminal sea. You hear passengers all around kind of applauding, clapping in that way that you do when the cruise ship leaves. Just, yay, congrats, wow, we did it, congratulations. And it kind of, in this moment, you recognize it has a bit of a double meaning. This is the launching of a ship, but it is a bit of a symbolic gesture of peace. And you sense even from your rooms, as you just kind of like peek your heads out to these people clapping and cheering, that this might mean something a little bit more to some people. To some people, they just want to party and they just want to have fun, but some people, this does represent something bigger. Each of you begin to feel the ship move beneath your feet as it begins to pick up speed, cutting through the liminal sea towards the Twilight Assembly, and hopefully towards the beginnings of peace. That's all for this episode of the 20-Sided Podcast. Tune in next time as our heroes begin their journey on the R.M.S. Titanfall. Bye, everybody.